Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee meeting of Tuesday,
Recording
June
in progress.
2021. I'm going to call this meeting to order. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none, I'm going to move to approval of the agenda. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Anne? Mayor Jordan, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And we have no delegations this evening. We're going to move right to updates. So I'm not too sure which staff would like to start with the verbal update on Nixon Hall.
Thank you, Chair Bothwell. I will start with that. Currently, the roofing material in Nixon Hall is a cedar shake. The homeowner will be replacing the balding roof with a blue tag certified #1 grade cedar shake. The proposed works are considered maintenance and no heritage permits will be required. Additionally, I'm excited to share that we're working to have the Heritage Committee come to the house for a tour once things start opening up with COVID. So she's really excited to have you guys come by. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the cedar shake.
So anyone like to ask Bianca any questions about that? No? Going once, going twice. Okay, so I have a motion resolved that the verbal update regarding Nixon Hall be received. I need a mover and a seconder again. Kate? You guys are going to be putting your hands up a lot tonight. So do I have a seconder? And all in favor? Thank you. Carried. Next one. Sobey Road to Sobey Road. Actually, you know what I did? I did a boo-boo because when we did the approval of the agenda, I meant to ask if we can move the correspondence from May Annabelle under 7A up under 5B with this item. So I'm going to just ask if we're going to have a majority concur to just amend that and move that correspondence up. If I can just see a show of hands, if they're okay with me amending the agenda at this point. Thank you. So Donna, if you're okay with that, I'm going to move that item up to the agenda at this point. And you go ahead and speak to that. Is it Bianca? Are you going to do this one? Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Bothwell. So the committee requested at the last meeting that staff come back with some estimated costs. There's many variables that need to be taken into consideration. So currently there's 46 along Sobey Road, 9 are residential and the rest are commercial. Due to the nature of each business, estimated costs can vary significantly. There'll be financial impacts on both the homeowners and business owners. Specifically as a business owner, these impacts will likely include advertisements, printed documents such as letterheads, checks, business cards, brochures, websites, as well as unpleasant impacts for property owners to change all their identification, such as Service Ontario, driver's license, health card, and all documents through the Ministry of Finance, Canadian Revenue Agency, credit card issuers, the bank, investment partners, grant providers, loan providers, and then utilities, electrical, water, internet, etc., and then insurance for cars, houses, business, farming equipment, etc. And we have been in discussion with the Clerk's Department about the Canada Post realignment along Sobey Road, which is expected in October. And it is our understanding that this realignment would not include all properties on Sobey Road. So from a fire and health and safety standpoint, there can't be 2 Sobey roads with similar or just slightly different spelling. And then additionally, we would need to correspond with the region for approvals on the changing of street names. However, we do agree that the history associated with the Sobey family is very important. And we would like to further investigate commemoration options. Based on a very quick overview, there's likely not a lot of options for up on Sobey Road due to the nature of the large lots and little community gathering spaces. However, we think that there could be a lot of options within the community in other community gathering spaces. And we believe that this family should be commemorated for their contributions. So we look to the committee for any suggestions as we continue to look into some as well. And then further to that, we'd recommend that the committee prepare a response for Miss Annabelle, sharing some of these updates, acknowledging her request, as well as letting her know about some of our plans for the commemoration of this notable family.
Do we have any questions to Bianca on this? Actually, Bianca, can we bring up the correspondence at this point and just, if you could just kindly mention what the request in the letter was with respect to this item?
Sure. So Miss Annabelle is the last descendant of the Sobey family, and she's hoping to have the name spelling revised to the correct spelling, as she's the last living descendant. And she provided us with some great history. And so since then, we've taken some time to see what would basically be the process for something like this, and some of the hurdles that we'd have to overcome to do this, or we're hoping there could be an option for a commemoration.
The letter that she sent, that's a follow-up letter to an original one that the committee received. Is that correct? Back in October, November? I can't remember, right? Yeah. So I think the mayor mentioned at that meeting as well, when this original letter came forward, that the name Sobey Road, that there's other families that have the two different types of spelling. I just wondered if anyone wanted to contribute to the conversation and come up with some ideas on commemoration or how we would appropriately respond to this correspondence. Feel free to let me know your thoughts. Anne?
Well, through you, Madam Chair, thank you. I think we always, we support heritage. All of us are on this committee for the reason that we support heritage. But I don't know that this is something that we want to get businesses to incur all these costs, get individuals to incur all these costs to make these kind of changes to their address. Like, I really like Bianca's idea of a commemorative plaque or some way to commemorate the family. But, with there being two different spellings, I don't know if this is something we should honestly get involved in at this point. That's my feeling.
And I'm just thinking too, when you hear Bianca's report, you realize that there's a lot more involved than just changing a couple signs on the escarpment. So it gets a lot deeper for the people who actually live on the road. So like, although it'd be nice to have it correct and factual, but it's not the simplest thing to do.
I agree.
Kate, what do you think?
Last year we had an extensive conversation about this. All these subjects and ideas came up then. And so I don't think much has changed. Was there 4 to 7 businesses on this street or something like that?
I could just provide some clarification. So it's 9 residential, and then the rest are commercial, and in total there was 46.
Oh, really? Wow. Mm-hmm. What about doing something like right over here on the corner of my street? It says Temple Lane, and it has another street sign right above it. It says Victoria Terrace. And I know that it sounds confusing, and it is. I'm not suggesting doing something confusing, but like, it wouldn't affect an ambulance. It wouldn't affect something like that. What if we did put a secondary small sign that said the correct spelling, or even something there that explained as a kind of a humorous side note, like that doesn't affect people's mailing address, that doesn't, but kind of like a plaque of some sort. Is that even possible?
Bianca, is there any implications with respect to road requirements and traffic, what we can do with respect to traffic law, et cetera? What kind of commemorative signs, or what type, Antonetta might be able to help, what kind of commemorative sign or plaque, and where would it go?
Yep. So through you, Madam Chair, those are the kind of conversations we've been having. We'd have to check with the other additional road sign. I would just never want any sense of confusion from an EMS perspective, but maybe if we did it really low at sort of eye level, we could look for something like that. The other thing is there's not an awful lot of human activity up there. So we're if the story might be lost and that it could be told. So we wanted to do something more meaningful along the lines of a heritage interpretive plaque and see if we could find a location that made sense for a heritage interpretive plaque, because she did provide us a series of images and some great historical research. So we thought we should showcase it in maybe a bigger and more meaningful way than simply the road sign, given the limitations. So my personal thought was along a heritage interpretive signage, like we've done in other parts of town. It's just finding a spot in town. So we were thinking maybe a park, and we wanted to reach out to Director Sweeney to talk about any options. She might be looking to add some human or cultural heritage interest and align with a project that way. So those are the thoughts there. And we think that might be more meaningful, explaining the dairy history, showing some of the images, and then even referencing what happened with the name and just owning that as part of our history.
Thank you. Kate, what are you thinking of that?
I think that's a great idea. The only concern I have is that sometimes we can take a long time to do a plaque. And this woman last year was 93, I believe. So I think that from a standpoint that we would like to honor her, that would be important. From also a public relations standpoint, it would be lovely to have the last Sobey standing there.
Well, I don't know what the feasibility of this. I'm not sure what her health is, but we could have potentially a temporary sign produced, put it up there, have sort of a photo opportunity for her to have, gift her the sign with the correct name of Sobey, and then do the long-term piece, which is the heritage interpretive signage. That might be a gesture that makes her feel appreciated, sees that, I think, before her, she can see that completed. I think that was one of her goals. And I think that would be very meaningful, and she can take home the Sobey Road sign. So we can check into the cost of that, and until we can figure out the more longer term play about the heritage interpretive signage. So if the committee likes that idea, happy to look into it.
So what I'm hearing is that we're going to direct staff to, you've already done some research on the heritage of the heritage significance of the property, but then to look at, to come back with not temporary, but initial recognition, commemoration, and then to be, help me with this, people.
I think, so through you, Madam Chair, I think we'll have a street sign produced with the correct road, name of Sobey Road. Then we will present that to Miss Mabel and have a photo op if she's, Miss Annabelle Sobey, May Annabelle Sobey, I should say. If she's well enough, we can do a photo opportunity for her with the sign on the actual road. Then we will gift her the road sign, and then we will proceed to pursue heritage interpretive commemoration elsewhere in the town to tell the story of the Sobey Road family with the spelling Y-E. Those would be the offerings I'd like to put forward.
Okay, how does that sound with the committee? I'm getting head shakes. That means yes. Now, how do I word up, Kate? Yeah. How do we word that in a motion? We've got received, and that staff, you're going to liaise with who?
Well, we'll have to do public works, likely to get a public work, like a road sign done.
Yep.
And sometimes if there is a long delay in that, just to be sensitive to the timing, we can also have one printed out on just a harder cardstock, or, even one of those plexi kind of materials, so we can get it done more quickly if there's a delay. So I think just leave the details to staff. We'll have something meaningful done, but a road sign with the correct name. Then we will present that to Miss May Annabelle Sobey in a way that works for her and her health and our current conditions. Then we'll pursue heritage interpretive signage, and we should likely build into that recommendation as suggested that the Heritage Committee prepare some correspondence back to her, acknowledging her letter and acknowledging the steps we're taking to acknowledge her family and their contributions to our community in a meaningful way. I think that would literally be the resolution.
I'll get Donna to go over the transcript after this meeting and get it word for word. But I think what you're saying then is that staff be directed to, first of all, you're going to formulate a response acknowledging the next steps, acknowledging the contributions of the family, and the next steps, which will be that staff will be working to create a road sign. Okay, I'm going to go with Donna. You got it?
I got it. How does this sound?
She's gonna read it back.
Resolved that the verbal update regarding Sobey Road to Sobey Road be received, and that the correspondence from May Annabelle regarding the spelling of two street name Sobey Road to Sobey Road be received, and acknowledge the request by Ms. Annabelle and provide further actions that the town will undertake, and that staff develop a temporary street sign with Sobey Road, SOBYE, with a photo opportunity with Ms. Annabelle, and presentation with a photo opportunity to Ms. Annabelle, and further pursue a more heritage interpretive sign.
Did that break up for you guys in hearing it? Okay, I'm going to have her try it one more time. It broke up.
Okay. So that the correspondence from Ms. May Annabelle regarding the spelling of Ward 2 street name, Sobey Road to Sobey Road, be received and acknowledged, and provide Ms. Annabelle further actions that the town will undertake, and that staff develop a temporary street sign with Sobey Road and present it to Ms. Annabelle with a photo opportunity, and pursue a more permanent heritage interpretive signage.
Thank you. That's great. Kate, did you have a question?
And then what timing would we be trying to aim for? Just to have an idea.
Through you, Councillor Bothwell, I'm going to suggest the sooner the better, just given the age and the circumstances and how much time has lapsed since her initial request.
Are you good with that, Kate? Yep. And so staff will be on that right away. Okay, that's great. Can I have a mover for that motion and a seconder? Mayor Jordan, and seconder is Ann. Thank you. Are we all in favor of that? Carried. Thank you, Donna. I'm going to move to the next item, the verbal update on the Ontario Heritage Act, please.
Thank you. Through the chair. So the updates have now come out. So that's the proposed Bill 108 that we've been talking about for just over a year. So those will be coming into effect on July 1st, 2021. Our team is reviewing all the provisions and preparing for this transition as the new provisions come into effect. We will note that the Conservation Review Board will now be included within a new tribunal known as the Ontario Land Tribunal. And we have I have recently circulated the committee with an invitation from the ministry for the Heritage 101 session, and they'll be going into more detail about the bill updates, and it sounds like it's going to be really comprehensive, and they're going to start right from the beginning, so you don't need to have a lot of experience with all those provisions. So I think it'll be a great opportunity to learn more about that. So
thanks, Bianca. Do we have any questions from committee on that verbal update? Okay, thank you. I need a mover and a seconder to receive. Kate? Ann? All in favor to receive the verbal update? Thank you. Next one we have is the large inclusion to the Heritage Register update.
Thank you. So through the chair, on April 6th, 2021, Town unanimously voted in favor of the largest addition to the register since 2008. The Heritage team has fielded over 70 inquiries from residents and have received only one formal removal/demolition request, which is the 30530 road, which will be discussed shortly. Staff have received very positive feedback on the new brochures, as well as the progress we're making to ensure the retention of Grimsby's heritage resources.
Thanks, Bianca. That's great news. It's out of 140, there's only one that's followed through on an appeal. And it's actually one we're handling tonight anyway, right?
Yeah, so through the chair, I made an effort to speak to every single resident over the phone, and I found that a lot of them had a lot of fantastic questions, and we cleared a lot of the confusion. And by the end of the calls, we shared that same love for heritage, and they were really honored to be on the list. And there was about 2 or 3 people who may consider it down the road, but nothing in the interim. So yeah, it went really, really well, actually.
Thank you very much for I know you put a lot of work into that, and I'm sure your communication with people really helped to alleviate, like you said, their concerns, and amazing work by staff. Thank you for that. Really appreciate it. Do we have comments from anyone else on committee to Bianca on that verbal update? All good. I need a mover and a seconder, please. Kate and Ann. All in favor to accept that verbal update? Thank you. Carried. Next one, Grimsby Beach Study.
Thank you, through the chair. So we have now completed phase 2 of this study. We received excellent community feedback, and we are now in the process of finalizing the summary report, and that will be shared on the Let's Talk Grimsby page. And we are now moving into phase 3 and 4. As we continue to assess the options and approaches to develop a land use planning framework. The public have indicated that they want new policies to address the matters that are important and unique to the community and provide a clear direction for the Grimsby Beach area. Over the next few weeks, the town and MHBC will be working on a planning report which will include these recommendations. The goal is to bring an update to council late June, followed by a community session in the summer/fall, where we will present an update on this information to the community and receive further feedback. And then we will be having a statutory public meeting in the fall, and we're hoping to conclude the study by the end of November.
Any questions from committee to Bianca on that report? Thank you, Kate.
Okay, I think you're muted.
It wouldn't let me unmute it. I meant to ask the question last meeting too. My concern is that we're losing momentum a little bit. When you said we had excellent feedback from public, at the last meeting, you said we had an excellent attendance at the public meetings online. And I attended both of them. And I looked at the people there, and I think there were like 3 residents, and the rest of them were counselors and staff and people from the committee. And then in the next one, there was the evening one, there was more, but not much more at all. And then when the surveys were just out, there were only, I think, 4 or 5 people that actually wrote down their opinions. And I was one of them. And like, my concern is this with COVID in this format, I would hate to not represent the community as best we could. And I don't know if there is a better way, or because I don't feel like there was a lot of feedback, and I don't feel that there were a great attendance, as we talked about before. Like 3 people that are residents, I don't think is a good attendance. So I'm not sure. I know that at the first stage, we did a survey and it was over 800 people where everyone was very excited. And now that's dropped dramatically. And I just wonder if there is a way that we can reach people. I don't know what it would be, but I just don't feel that, I feel that it's a long process. A lot of the questions seem to be the same questions. And I just don't know. I just don't necessarily feel that this is the great forum for engagement. And I don't really think there is a lot of engagement. So do you feel?
So through you, Councillor Bothwell, if I can chime in, you know, I think we would agree the quality of feedback is excellent. The people who do respond take such thorough care, write detailed emails, give us a lot of feedback. That said, the numbers have been declining from the beginning of the process. We started off really well with the walking tours, and the survey response was very good. And then when we went to the sheets, to the actual planning matter of it, we noticed that the decline was quite sharp. And then what we did to make it easier for them, and instead of asking them to read the sheets and provide the commentary in Let's Talk Grimsby, we turned that into a survey in order to try and make it much easier for people to participate. That increased our numbers, but not as much as we would hope. That said, a lot of the feedback that we're getting is the same, and it's consistent sort of feedback. So what we're hoping is that now when we put the policies together, people have something very specific to react to. And we're hoping that that will drive more conversation, because it isn't just, what do you want to see done? Do you think we're getting the themes right? It's, here's an avenue forward. Here's some policies. Give us your feedback to the policies. And then that said, you know, MHBC has said that they're comfortable with the feedback, and that based on what they're seeing from COVID as well, there is a decline. Less and less people are engaging for whatever reason it might be, just general fatigue or whatnot. But we're hoping that the response to the actual policies will be much better. And then if we need to pivot or reconsider, then we can have that conversation with the TAC and the SAC. And then the other thing we need to be, you know, considered of is a lot of people, we had to extend the interim control bylaw. And we have to be sensitive how long we extend that, because it does put a hold and a freeze for some people who are hoping to do some major building projects. So we don't want to extend it too far out. But we just put out a survey to ask if people would rather wait till September to speak to us on the matter, if they want to just have the summer to enjoy with their families. So every step we take is in response to what the community is telling us. So I'm not sure what more we can do. I mean, if there are suggestions, we'll take them. But I think let's see how people respond to the actual policies. And then if we think that we haven't got the level of response to feel comfortable with proceeding, we can devise some more tactics for engagement at that point.
Kate?
Okay. Well, let's wait.
Can you, Antoinette or Bianca, can you give me a bit more information? You mentioned that you're thinking something's coming to council at the end of June. So our next meeting in June, some report, and exactly what is phase 3 and phase 4?
Through you, the chair. Sorry, I'm just pulling up the date here. Yeah, we're hoping to have it come to council in late June. So right now, the recommendation, the summary recommendation report is coming from the consultant. So we're in the process of reviewing that document, and then we'll be coming to council with a the recommendations will be included within that report, as well as it will be a planning report, and it will include that and some additional information, and that will be all before the next community session.
So council is going to be deciding in June on the recommendations are coming in a planning report as to, is that what I'm hearing? What kind of recommendations are coming forward?
Through the chair, I'm just going to grab the details here.
I'll jump in if I may while Bianca's looking for that. I don't believe there's recommendations for council to approve. It's an update from the consultant on the feedback to date and next steps, but happy to be corrected if there's any further detail. But there's no recommendations or policies. Those won't come to council until they've been vetted by the community and until we've heard their feedback on those policies. We want to write these policies to tailor the community and the very specific needs of Grimsby Beach. And so we won't be looking at recommendations in June at all from a policy perspective.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you talked about additional community engagement and then bringing them the draft policy. So I just wanted to make sure whatever, I'm not asking what's in the report, but that council won't be making any decisions on anything until it goes further, right?
Absolutely. We don't move forward till we hear from the community on the policies and the recommendations that are going to be presented.
Okay, so is that okay with you, Kate? We're going to be seeing some more stuff coming forward to council in June and then further engagement.
I would assume that what's coming to council is what the stakeholders group has been given, and it's basically all the results organized nicely in and their theories behind them and stuff like that. I assume it's just fine-tuned and sent to you, right?
Correct.
Okay, great. Thank you. Any other questions on that Grimsby Beach verbal update? I just need a mover and a seconder to receive it then. Mayor Jordan, Ann, thank you. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. The next one we've got is the verbal update on 141 and 147 Main Street East.
Through you, the chair. So I'm just going to provide a quick update on that site. So the town issued a notice of intention to designate for both of the properties at 141 and 147. Both of these notice of intention to designate have been appealed by the applicant to the Conservation Review Board. The town has since received an application for demolition permits for these properties. However, these cannot be taken into consideration as under the Ontario Heritage Act, all demolition permits during a notice of intention to designate are all in void. They can't be considered by the municipality until the notice of intention to designate process is fully completed. So, and then we haven't accepted these demolition permits. So they filed an appeal to LPAT on no decision, even though we haven't had a chance to consider them. So that's just an update there.
Bianca, just to confirm, they filed to LPAT on the non-decision, but it's directly related to our denial or not considering the demolition permit with respect to the heritage designation properties?
Correct. So they filed demolition permits, but we can't consider them. While you're in the notice of intention to designate, they're automatically voided. So we can't consider it at all until this process is complete. However, they have appealed those demolition permits to LPAT.
Oh, it's the demolition permits that they've appealed, not like a non-decision of planning.
There's an additional planning appeal that has been filed, which was done before a application was deemed complete.
So there's two appeals they've got on the go, one on the planning non-decision or whatever, or missing the timeline thing, and the second on the demolition.
Yes, so there's an LPAT for the application, which is official plan amendment. And then there's a LPAT appeal on the demolitions. And then there's two appeals to the Conservation Review Board.
Okay.
For the designation.
For the designation, correct. Who does the demolition one go to? LPAT?
Demolition is LPAT, yes.
Okay. Okay.
Which is now the OLT.
Yep. Oh. It's changed to the Ontario Land Tribunal?
Correct. Yes, that's one of the updates that came through on June 1st.
So as of July 1st or June 1st?
June 1st.
That changed. Okay.
Yeah. And we're speaking with the ministry. It sounds like anything that was filed prior to that date will remain with the tribunal or board it was with, but it's still not 100%. That's their understanding at this time.
Okay. Thank you. Do we have any questions from committee members for Bianca on that item? Okay, seeing none, I need a mover and a seconder to receive the verbal update. Kate, Ann, thank you. All in favor? Carried. And the next one is the tree updates, please.
Through you, the chair, I'm going to start with 133, and then I'm going to pass it off to Andrew. So on May 28th, 2021, a portion of the heritage tree at 133 Main Street suffered a significant collapse, which posed as an immediate threat to health and safety. The remaining portions of the tree was deemed high risk and has since been removed. However, myself and Andrew have photo documented the trees from various points along Main Street as well as Nels Road to capture the majestic specimen within its landscape. The failure of the tree and the removal was not the preferred outcome. However, the threat to public safety left us with no reasonable options. The developer has salvaged as much of the tree as possible, and we're looking for meaningful ways to reuse the tree within the community as well in the restoration of the historic dwelling. And we're going to continue to look into commemorative options to have within the landscape moving forward. Now, I'll hand it off to Andrew to talk a little bit about the butternut.
Sorry about that, through the chair. As to our conversations at the previous Grimsby Heritage Advisory Committee meeting, staff has been in contact with a certified arborist for the project. This was from a conversation and an email conversation with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks on the list of certified butternut tree assessors. We have received a quote from this assessor, but at this time we are still working with the Public Works Department to try and determine whether or not this tree is still on private property as shown in the picture there. You can see the fence that is in front of the tree, and or whether or not this is shared with the town. Staff has also reached out to Bruce McKenzie from the Bruce Trail Conservancy for his expertise in the matter. And as per one of Mr. McKenzie's suggestions, town staff have reached out to Tarandis Group, a sub-consultant on the Grimsby Beach land use study, about the butternut tree and how we may leverage their expertise for this matter. We will keep the committee informed as to what we learn from this, but we will also be looking for through the Ontario Land Trust to purchase the maps to see whether or not this property is shared or private. If it is deemed that this property is private, staff will either request permission from the homeowner to conduct the assessment, or staff will have to choose an arborist to conduct a visual assessment at this time. So I'll leave it to the committee for any questions that they may have as to the point where we're at with this matter.
Thank you. Andrew, can I just have the full screen back and then I can keep an eye on everybody's?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. Great, thank you very much. So we've had two presentations here on the Nellis Copper Beach and the butternut on Grimsby Beach. So do we have any questions, Anne?
Thank you. I actually do have some questions about the butternut that went down at Nellis in Maine. Do we know the cause of what happened there? Was it neglect? Was it damaged in some way? And would this have been expected within the normal scope of the age of that tree?
So through you, Madam Chair, I can offer that we found out that it was through the storm that happened and a series of multi-directional winds at the time. I don't know about your second question. You know, I'm not an arborist. I know that Mayor Jordan was out there, and I wonder if he can perhaps offer some of his expertise and insights on what he was able to observe.
Antoinette, I just want to clarify, I thought I read that there was a town did have an arborist on site to assess the tree.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So can
But
you
I
tell,
just don't know. I think the question was, you know, how much more life expectancy could we have expected, or was it expected? I don't know how much more we could have expected. I don't think anybody realized perhaps the level of decay on the inside of the tree. I know that was in the arborist report that the town hired. So, you know, I don't know what the life expectancy could have been. I know that they could go for actually much longer. I learned that from Mayor Jordan. So I'll pass that over to Mayor Jordan if he wants to chime in there.
All right, thank you through the chair. Yeah, the major problem with the tree obviously was there was a high amount of canker right at the base, and canker's like a dry rot that actually affects the sustainability of the tree, and with all the weight above, the arborist certainly felt that where that tree is located caused more of a problem and more difficulty to mitigate the problem. That canker, historically, that canker was probably introduced into the tree probably 20 to 25 years ago. Someone, probably the previous owner, had cut some large branches off, and branches that were actually too big to cut off. They should have cut them farther out on the tree. So there were large wounds created on the trunk. That being said, about 25 years ago. And that's where the canker entered, and those wounds never did heal over. So that was an entry point, and that severely weakened the tree. And the arborist made comments at the site and said, if the tree was in the middle of the field, we could do cobra cabling, which is a combination rubber metal cabling that it has some give, so it would stabilize the tree in the wind, and the tree could last 50 more years. But it wasn't safe in that location, being so close to both the intersection and the heritage home, that it was unanimous that although it was hard on our hearts to take the tree down, it was really the only option, with safety overriding. Because if one of those trunks came down onto the road, it could kill someone. And if it went the other way, it would probably destroy the house. So that's where we ended up. It wasn't good news, but I think the lucky thing was that no one was hurt when that branch did fall. So,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
thanks, Mayor. Anybody else have questions about the two? Kate?
To the butternut in Grimsby Beach, I don't know if anyone's gone out to inspect the tree. I should let you know that a few neighbors, there's some neighbors that are very active right now in Grimsby Beach, trying to do inventories and do planting projects. And one of them approached we were going to start it last year, but one of them approached the new owner, and they were very receptive to put their little plastic containers that were purchased from Lee Valley that you fill with dirt and you strip a little bark away, and you try to grow a tree off a branch, like off a mother tree. And they allowed us to access the property and install 5 of them, I believe, on that tree. But while there watering them, I took some pictures of the tree, and there are branches that are massive, that are like pressing on electrical wires that run through the tree, that are pressing to the point where the electrical wires are like this. And the mass of the tree branch spans to more than like 2 properties on that side, and unfortunately there is a lot of dead branches in that tree, most likely because it wasn't maintained over the years. At the same time, the owner adjacent to the property that this tree resides on shared with me her property line piece of paper that shows the next door neighbor, showing that the fences there are in fact 6 feet off the property line, going directly through the tree. And also, if you look at our maps, like for the fire bylaw and that show all the property lines, it shows the trees directly on the property line. So I just don't know if there are, like, there's a lot of dead branches in that tree spanning multiple backyards. So I'm not sure if it's not a heritage issue. I want to save the tree, but it might be a safety issue at this point.
So Andrew, would the next steps be that we have to determine, or Antonetta, the actual, how much longer do you think before we can finalize who owns the tree and whose property it's on? Because I guess we can't do anything until we know that, right?
At this point, if the property owner wanted to have the tree inspected, they could call a certified butternut tree arborist to come in and inspect the tree at any point. I think the issue we're having is that the tree is within a fence line, and in order for us to get determination on the fence line, there may have to be a survey, or we would have to get permission from the owner in order to get someone onto the property. Now, if the owner just wanted to do it themselves and they wanted to spearhead this, that would be completely up to them, and we would ask them to do that. But because we have very little say in what the owner can do on their property, we have to go through the necessary steps in order to get this process done.
So I'll jump in if I can there, Madam Chair. I think we have been corresponding with Public Works. There isn't a clear determination. Our next step was to reach out to the Land Registry Office, purchase one of the maps that just shows us exactly where the property line is. If it's within, our area that we have jurisdiction over, we can address the tree. Either way, we're going to get a minimum, at a bare minimum, we're looking at a visual assessment. Best case scenario, we'll do a more fulsome assessment. And then if it is on our property, we can work with our town arborist that we have on retainer to see if any maintenance should be done to the tree. Thank you for the information about the power lines, Kate. Maybe we can call Grimsby Power and see if there's any maintenance that they can help with. But I'd want to make sure any maintenance is undertaken in a way that doesn't cause harm to the tree. So just like we learned with the Copper Beech on the Burgess property, if they cut down limbs that are too large or in the wrong spot, they can cause damage, and then we're going to lose these sort of magnificent specimens. So I'd want to make sure that everything is done under a qualified individual, and that's why we're doing our due diligence and our homework. I could say we hope to have a clear and concise update for you. I think within the next month. Would that be reasonable? I think the LRO should get back to us, and we can get Grimsby Power, on a call ASAP and see what can be done, if anything. So I think we have a couple avenues to pursue. One is the Land Registry Office. Another one is an immediate visual assessment. And then the third piece is really, if it's on our property, what can we do in terms of proactive maintenance under a qualified butternut arborist who knows exactly what we should be doing. That's what we're going to be doing going forward. And we will update the committee as soon as information becomes available.
And was another option, you'd reached out to Bruce McKenzie, and I know that the Bruce Trail organization has certified butternut assessors. He recommended somebody from the Grimsby Beech group that's working currently there, that he said was a...
So through you, Madam Chair, as part of the MHBC group, they have Tarandis as a sub-consultant, and he said they would be good at something like this. So we've contacted Tarandis to see if they can undertake this, maybe at a discounted cost or as part of the study for us. at a minimum, do the visual survey and give us some advice on how to proceed. So we're trying to leverage that relationship, since they're already a consultant of record on the project, to get them to look at the tree. So they're a sub-consultant to MHBC, just like Crozier is for the shoreline, et cetera.
That's great. And anybody that's going to be, any considerations will take into account the species at risk and the act itself on protecting the tree, right? So anything moving forward, everybody will be aware of what those restrictions are, right?
Absolutely. We've made it abundantly clear to everybody we've been speaking to, and it's a privilege to be able to deal with things like this. So we are proceeding cautiously, but hopefully effectively, to get an assessment done here.
Great, thanks. Any other questions on that? Kate and Ann, are your questions answered, or do you have any further questions on that? Okay, you're all good. Appreciate the work you guys are doing. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Antonetta. So I've got kind of a mover and a seconder to receive the tree updates. Got Ann and Kate. All in favor to receive the tree updates? It's carried. Thank you. And the next one is our the verbal update on the fountain and bell within Bell Park.
Okay. Just going to, through you, the chair, I'm just going to share my screen again here. So Bianca and I had the opportunity to go do an inspection on the fountain as well as the bell and its foundation within Bell Park. During this inspection, we had found some small cracks forming in the concrete. These cracks seem to be formed from previous repairs that were done. And as you can see in the picture on the left, there is a concrete patch there, and you can see the crack going around the patch. Typically over time, what happens is during freeze-thaw cycles in the winter, small cracks like these will start to open up as water gets in and it starts to freeze, and they just grow in size over time. This matter has been forwarded to the Parks, Recreation and Culture Department, and they will be looking into the maintenance as well as signage to keep people from going on to the fountain. I guess that's been an issue in the past. Also, we did take a look at the bell and its foundation in the park. That bell, the foundation is made out of concrete, and it seems to be seems to have a concrete parging material over top. Over time, that concrete parging will start to deteriorate and fall off through the same cycle as you see within these cracks forming on the fountain. Water will get in, and through the freeze-thaw cycle, the parging will start to separate from the concrete behind. This is typical, and it's something that just needs to be maintained over time. We don't see any threat to the foundation of the bell. The parging is something that will in time have to be maintained and redone, but that is something that homeowners do on their properties on a yearly basis as well for their foundations. So I wouldn't worry about the foundation for the bell at this time, but in time the parging will have to be redone. So I'll pass it off to the committee for any questions on that.
Thanks, Andrew. And if I
And
can
I
just
will stop sharing.
Yeah, thank you. Great. I didn't see a picture of the bell, but I heard your report. And did you mention that Parks and Rec are actually going to be doing the maintenance work on the fountain? Is that what I heard?
I did contact Sarah Sweeney, and she said she was going to take on to pass it off to her staff to inspect the fountain for the maintenance. It's something that I can follow back up with her and make sure that it's being done.
Thanks.
Just to make sure that it's being done.
What's in the fountain right now? It didn't look like anything that was a perennial that I would grow in my garden.
That would be of a concern to me. That fountain right now is a planter box. Typically planter boxes would have some sort of way for water to get out. In my limited expertise with something like this, I would make sure that there is an avenue for water to escape this, as water just pooling on concrete or pooling in something like that, or just sitting damp like that, will cause a quicker deterioration to any concrete or mortar or anything like that in the future. So that is a consideration later on. That maybe the fountain just be what it is as a fountain and maybe not a planter, as that may be causing extra damage.
Thanks. Kate, you were going to say something, or Antonetta, do you want to jump in there before Kate?
I'm happy to go after Kate. I just wanted to add, I'm also concerned about the freeze thaw cycle with that material in the fountain. So my professional recommendation would be that material be removed, and that before anybody from the Parks and Rec sort of team go out there and do repairs, that they consult with us to make sure the material are right. Because when you repair something that's of a heritage material, if you do it with, let's say, concrete-based mortar, but it needs lime-based mortar, that causes those cracks down the road. So I say if we have the expertise in-house, then let's rely on that to make sure that the repairs we do, you know, might look aesthetically pleasing for a year or two, but actually cause long-term damage. So that would be, you know, I think our commitment to follow up with our expertise and maybe make those recommendations about both the freeze-thaw cycle and the materiality for repairs.
Sorry, Kate. Thank you, Antonetta. Go ahead, Kate.
I agree. I mean, I love the fountain full of flowers, but I worry too that it will damage. I personally feel that this 1928 fountain dedicated to a woman who did some pretty awesome stuff is important. And I mean, possibly, I know that as long as I've been here, they've been planting in it and I've been planting in it, but maybe possibly just recently we've had issues of a lot of folks wanting to get the best photo off of TikTok. A lot of young people for some reason want to be here now, and they've been scaling it. So possibly we can bring it back to a state where there's no dirt in it, and maybe the neighbors who do land the flowers in and maintain it can create some sort of flowers around it to keep people from being able to get at it. But I agree that potentially we should, and I think people in the neighborhood, if they understood the relevance of that fountain, that they would understand why we should not be putting dirt in it anymore.
So I'm hearing that staff are working with Public Works and whatever, and they will be working with our heritage folks to ensure that whatever repairs go forward are complimentary. Do we need to put something in a motion to that, or we're just going to receive the verbal update and you guys are going to come back to us with a further update as to what the status is and how you see the next steps will be?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, I think the latter could work, but happy if you feel a recommendation is also necessary. But we work really well with our fellow teams, and we'll just follow up and then report back to the committee.
The other thing I'm thinking is, and Kate's mentioned this, is the significance of it. And have we actually, education awareness, interpretive plaque, like, is it worth something that we need to go bigger on with recognizing it? I don't know. Kate, am I hearing that from you, or?
The information at the top of my head, I researched it a few months ago. It's a Gage family from Hamilton at the same time, not the same family as a wealthy family, not the same family as the Gage family of Gage Park, but of the same age. This woman was the same age as the woman who dedicated the fountain at the same time to her family in Gage Park, the large one. So I don't know if this was a prominent thing to do, dedicate fountains at that point to people, but the organization that she helped found back then, where she rallied citizens to raise money to take care of the emotional well-being of soldiers and then children and underprivileged, is still around today. And they at the top of my head, I think an annual amount of money they raise is $3 million a year. But I mean, I think it was $3 million a year, but it's still around today. And she probably planned a lot of it from Grimsby Park while we're vacationing here in the summertime. So
So am I hearing that maybe, and I don't know, that you want, that we should look maybe at this a little further as part of our status update as an interpretive plaque and put it onto our status thing to do a little bit more research like we would with a property? Is that what you're thinking we might need to move forward with on this?
It wasn't on my, my first inclination is to protect the fountain. That's what I really want to do right now. I do think that it's important. If we are looking at embracing our heritage and educating people, I think that this kind of story is important at this time. And it's something that, like, good luck finding another monument to a woman from 1928 in this town or anywhere else very, close by. And so I do think it's value to do that, to look into it, to investigate, to put it into some sort of information that we can harness. But I think my major concern is just protecting the fountain at this moment in time, if we're prioritizing.
Antonetta?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think, yeah, I agree with Kate. I think our first thing has to be to protect the physical attributes so we have something to talk about later in a plaque, and a plaque can come a little bit down the road. If I recall correctly, there is a plaque in the park already. It maybe doesn't mention the bell and doesn't get into the great detail of the affiliation with this woman, but certainly, we can put that on the committee's agenda and look into that for interpretive plaque. But my main concern is to make sure we have a bell to talk about in the future. So if everyone's agreeable, let's proceed with protecting the actual attributes, and then we can deal with how to commemorate it, bring attention to it. But I do like the strategy about maybe planting a border of flowers around it as a barrier for people getting to it. That may help people from scaling it. If they have to trample a foot or two of flowers, it may be a beautiful barrier that has positive consequences for the long-term viability of the fountain. So I'd like to also explore that a little bit as we speak with our fellow sort of departments and see what can be done there. I think that could be a strategy worth pursuing as well.
Kate?
I think that's an excellent idea for the fountain. I know this year, normally it was the flowers were planted by neighbors, just a few neighbors, just a few. We opened it up this year because we've been really trying to get people engaged more. And we asked people, we didn't ask them to plant. We told them that they were welcome to plant, and we ran out of dirt space. So I really feel that by doing what Antonetta said, opening it up there, potentially down the road after we deal with the maintenance of it, I think that it would go over well.
Great, thank you. So I think we've got a plan ahead from planning staff on how they're going to work forward with the internal departments to preserve it, and we'll leave it for them to come back to us with a further update once they have more information. Is everyone good with that? Okay, so I've got a motion here that the verbal update regarding the fountain and bell within Bell Park be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder, please? Kate and Ann. All in favor? That's carried. Thank you. Verbal update on the plaques.
Through you, the chair. So staff has been working with Burlington Signs on finalizing the artwork for the plaques. Burlington Signs had to reproduce the necessary artwork for the town crest. That would be the correct format and size to work with the software in order to get the best quality for the plaques. We are currently working to finalize all names on the plaques to get finalized artwork for all designated sites for review by the committee. While staff was ready to proceed, we will be asking the archives to review dates and names, since the research conducted for the designation reports predated our respective employment with the town, and we want to ensure everything is accurate as it can be. So at this time, we have reached out to the archives to make sure that they are on board with the information that is going onto the plaques. so we can finalize that so that I can get the artwork finalized for you to review and for you to recommend to council.
Great, thanks, Andrew. Any comments from members on that update? So you'll be coming back to us again in the next little while, whether it's a month or two, right, Andrew, with the finalized stuff from Burlington Signs?
Through you, the chair, as soon as I get that information, I will get it to you as quick as I possibly can.
Perfect. Thanks again for that. So I've got a motion here to resolve the verbal update regarding the plaques be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Kate. Thanks, Ann. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next is the verbal update on the terms of reference and priorities.
So thank you. Through you, Chair Bothwell, I'll take this one. As you know, the priorities are an important part of what we'd like to talk about for the future of this committee so that we can be effective and we can channel all of our respective efforts in directions that really lead to us saving, commemorating, and preserving and protecting Grimsby's heritage for the long term. And then there was also the conversation about the terms of reference. So we just wanted to share that they're not on the agenda tonight because we had a full long list of business because we unfortunately had to miss the meeting in May due to COVID. So we will look to schedule that for July because we want us to have the fulsome time to talk about that. And we're also willing to do a special meeting if necessary. If there's a lot of business in July, we don't want to put it off again. So just so you know, it is our plan to talk to the committee and set priorities and deal with the outstanding terms of reference at our next available meeting and or a special meeting, depending on how busy the meetings are with the amount of updates and work that we're bringing forward. Thank you.
Thanks, Antonetta. Any questions on that from committee? Thank you. Seeing none, I've got a motion resolve the verbal update regarding the terms of reference and priorities be received. Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Ann. All in favor? Carried. Thank you. Next one is the Heritage Conservation District update.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. This is going to be a very quick update. So we are currently interviewing a potential consultant, and we will be bringing our recommendation to council for consideration after the completion of that interview. And that's just a quick update for now.
Any questions or comments on that verbal update? Okay, I need a mover and a seconder that the verbal update regarding the Heritage Conservation District be received. Mayor, Ann, thank you. All in favor? Carried. Thanks again. The next one we have is a request for leave from Olia. I don't know if one of the staff want to take that, or I can read the motion.
Through the chair, you can just read the motion. It's
Thank
pretty
you.
self-explanatory.
Thanks, Donna. So what happened was we received an email from member Jurychuk requesting a leave of absence for 6 months. And we sought some clarification from the clerk as to what options were available. And the option is that if it's greater than 3 months or 3 consecutive meetings, that the committee can decide whether to extend or approve the leave of absence for the full period. So the motion that we have in front of us tonight is whereas Olia Jurychuk has been appointed as a member to Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee, and whereas Ms. Jurychuk has provided notice on June 2nd, 2021 that she requires a 6-month leave of absence from the committee due to personal reasons. Now therefore be it resolved that Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee recommend to council that Olia Jurychuk be granted a leave of absence for 6 months until December 2nd, 2021. Can I have a mover and a seconder for that? Ann and Kate. Is there any questions about the request? Antonetta?
Through you, Madam Chair, no questions about the request, and we wish Olia well. But wondering if, as we spoke about, if this is perhaps an opportunity for us to bring on a new member who may be interested in joining the committee or just growing the committee to help us undertake some of our outreach and marketing activities and research activities, maybe help form some subcommittees to get some build on the continued momentum that we've created here. So I'm not sure if this is the avenue to talk about it, or we'll talk about it when we set priorities, but certainly with the loss of a member and helping to maintain quorum, we think that it's important that we look to temporarily fill the position or to add to our membership overall, and then welcome Olia when she comes back.
Thank you. I totally agree with that. And I think that a committee of 5 just put us very vulnerable, as we've noticed tonight. And it is a lot of work for this committee to take on, as you as staff are aware as well, the volume of work and the commitment to heritage that we have. So our terms of reference does say no fewer than 5. So there is a potential not only to look at a temporary replacement just while Olia is on leave, but also to look at a permanent increase to our complement. I'm going to just reach out to committee to ask if they want to address this tonight, or if they would like that discussion to take place in the July meeting when we discuss the terms of reference, because it will all be reflected in there, and then we can look at changes to the terms of reference to create those subcommittees or to look at recruiting additional members. So can I ask committee members maybe to provide input? Anne?
I like the idea of waiting till July, then we can just kind of take it all in and have some, put some thoughts together on it and then come back to the group.
Thank you. Anyone else have any questions or comments on that suggestion?
I agree with Anne. I'd like to take the month to come up with some ideas of where we might find a temporary or someone that is willing to stay on longer.
So what I'm hearing, Antonetta, is that we'll bring that forward for further discussion at the July meeting with the terms of reference discussion. For now, the motion in front of us is to recommend to council that the leave for Olia Juricek be granted for 6 months until December 2nd, 2021. I've had it moved by Anne and seconded by Kate. Can I ask, is everyone in favor of that? That's carried. Thank you. I don't want to cut anybody off if anyone else had anything else that they meant to say on that. I think we're going to go into that further discussion to some length. Antonetta, you're good with that for July?
Through you, Madam Chair, thank you for asking. I think it makes us a little vulnerable for our July meeting, and if the recruitment process takes a while, then maybe we should start it sooner. That's just my caution right there. I think we might want to consider recruiting now. I know that, as we deal with homeowners, some homeowners will say, oh, I'd love to be on the Heritage Committee one day. So we do have people who are interested, and if time permits, I think it would be helpful so that we don't run into difficulties with quorum to have a bigger group. And I'm not sure if we wait till July and then the recruitment takes a month or two, I'm worried we're going to be September or October. So I don't want to disregard the committee's recommendation for July, but I do have a few concerns about that.
So perhaps we can move up the terms of reference discussion to a special meeting, as you suggested, and move it as close as we can to the first week of July, or whenever we can find available from all members. And if we deal with that and combine it with the request for, we can determine the membership at that time as well, separate from our regular Heritage meeting.
Right. Through you, Madam Chair, I would just offer, the terms of reference say no less than 5, correct?
It says no fewer than 5.
No fewer than 5. So we could technically start recruitment right away without having to wait for a special meeting. Just because, again, I'm not sure exactly when that's going to happen. So if we're okay with it, we can work with the clerk and see, what processes are in place for recruitment, and then we can bring some people on who are interested in serving on the Heritage Committee with us, and hopefully they can be avid contributors to what we do here. So I think that'll just help generally to get it going as quickly as possible, and our terms of reference currently allow for it. So my recommendation would be sooner rather than later, but I leave that again to final recommendation by the committee.
Sorry, committee, I just want to get your sense on that. Do we want to do a motion, and I'll need one of you to move it if you want to start with looking at recruiting immediately and I'm assuming temporary or permanent members? Kate?
Just a question. how would this process proceed? Would we just show up to the next July meeting and there's 2 other people that you have brought in, or would it go through the same process that we went through where the council members, the mayor, planning staff interviewed people? And then they would not necessarily be at the July meeting, or they might be. I'm just wondering how we will vet these people and who will decide.
Through you, Madam Chair, I would imagine it would follow the same process, but we do have the benefit of having our clerk staff on hand. So if they would like to chime in on that, I'd imagine we'd follow the same process though.
Through the chair, it would be following the same process. And I'm not sure you'd want to do a temporary member. You might just want to appoint 1 for the balance of the term. And then that would bring your committee out to 7 members once Olia rejoins, just for consideration.
We're technically 5 members now. So that would bring us to 6 with the mayor as an ex officio, right?
That's correct.
Okay. Kate?
Okay, that's fine with me. Like the one question I do, it's not clear to me though, is how long would that process take? Like, I'm assuming the councillors and the mayor and the town staff, and would it be within the month that this would have to take place?
Through the chair, if we were able to get an application out posted, we could probably be in a position to appoint maybe the first council meeting in July. But I'm thinking if we can expedite the process.
So what we would need is a motion tonight to say that we're directing staff to initiate the recruitment process for a new member to the committee. Is that right, Antonetta?
Through you, Madam Chair, I think a motion like that would suffice for us to begin the process, do the posting, and then see who's interested and go through the applicants.
Donna? So I'm just, we're hearing that if we do this recruitment process, we're going to be posting, and if we state how many members we're going for, is 1 sufficient? Should we be looking at 2, as the clerk has mentioned? And I believe 2. I think we need, I'm certainly looking forward to Olia coming back and having our regular comment, but I think we could definitely use 2 new members because that will help us break into subcommittees and assign work a little further. So if the rest of the committee are supportive, I would suggest that our recruitment efforts be, because it's a lot of work to do the interview process and everything like that, and we don't want to find that we're still short in the long haul. So I mean, if we can go for 2, would the committee support that now? Okay, I'm seeing shaking heads, and I'm hearing. Okay, Kate.
I was under the impression, and I could have been incorrect, that we were hoping to, within this term, increase the amount of people anyways. And so it makes sense to me that if we're doing this already, let's not waste people's time and let's do it already. That's what I'm thinking also. So just take it as an opportunity, and when Olia comes back, it's a bonus 3rd person. That's my opinion.
Okay, so I need one of our mayor, did you want to speak to that?
Yes, through the chair. I just feel the same way. I feel we have interest in heritage, so let's get 2 more people on the committee. The Heritage Committee, I was back when I was an alderman. I was on it. Rebecca, my wife, was on it in the past as well. It was bigger then. I think there was probably 7 members. So it has been bigger in the past, and it certainly worked well that way. So with heritage being such a priority, both with council and with members of the community, I really think more is much better. Thanks.
Thank you, Mayor. So I need a member of the committee to move a motion to request that staff commence the recruitment process for 2 members. So can I have one of the committee members move that or bring that forward, that motion? Because I can't bring a motion forward. Kate, do you want to bring that motion?
Do I need to know how to do it?
I think you just need to say that.
I'd like to bring a motion. So what exactly would I be saying though?
Okay, Clerk Donna, do you want to help us with that?
No, just tell me what I have to say and I'll say it. I'll repeat it.
So the motion would be resolved that staff be directed to commence recruitment efforts to add 2 additional members to the Heritage Advisory Committee.
So are you moving that, Kate?
Oh my gosh, I am so.
Awesome. Do I have a seconder? Do I have a seconder? Mayor Jordan. Okay. So I have a mover and a seconder on Kate's motion to start the recruitment. And I know that Antonetta and staff are going to be really busy with that. And we'll make ourselves available to you, whoever you need on the selection board, Antonetta and your staff. So to work with you to get this moving as quickly as possible. If we've got the motion that was read by the clerk, I have the mover and the seconder, all in favor of that motion? That's carried. Thank you. Great. Thank you, people. The next item, now we're moving to reports. And I have the recommendation report for 305 30 Road.
Thank you, through you, Madam Chair. So we've prepared the recommendation report for the property at 305 30 Road. This property was added to the Municipal Heritage Register on April 6th, 2021. The property at 305 30 Road was added to the list as it was identified as an intact farm from the late 19th and early 20th century. This property was added as it had the potential to have associative and contextual value. During the 19th and 20th centuries, the town of Grimsby prospered and developed. Much of the success comes from the successful tender fruit farming industry. It is integral that intact farms from this era are added to the Municipal Heritage Register to ensure associative and contextual value can be researched for these heritage sites. On April 26, 2021, a building permit was submitted for the property at 305 30 Road. On May 7th, 2021, Heritage Planning staff were notified of the proposed works. We received a formal notice of intention to demolish form from the applicant on May 10th. Staff conducted a site visit on May 11th, and we took several photos of the site. In order to meet our 60-day statutory timelines mandated by the province, we prepared this report with our comments and recommendations based on our due diligence. The recommendations from tonight will be brought to the Committee of the Whole on June 21st and then ratified at Council on July 5th, all within the statutory timelines. Staff have conducted a comprehensive review against the Ontario Regulation 906. It has been evaluated that the structure at 305 30 Road does not meet one or more of the criteria for designation under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Staff recommend that the dwelling at 305 30 Road be removed from the Municipal Heritage Register as a property that does not meet the criteria for designation under the Ontario Heritage Act. And as per the notice of intention to demolish request, staff recommend permitting the demolition of the dwelling at 305 30 Road. We can now address any of the committee's questions.
Thank you, Bianca. If you can go back to full screen, that would be great. Thank you so much. So does the committee members have any questions on that presentation? I've got a motion in front of me, resolved that the property be removed from the Municipal Heritage Register under Section 27 on the Ontario Heritage Act, and that the Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee recommends that the residential structure at 305 30 Road be permitted for demolition as it does not meet one or more of the Ontario Regulation 906 criteria for designation under the Ontario Heritage Act. Do I have a mover and a seconder? Anne, Kate. All in favor? It's Carried. Okay. Next, we've got the 3 Slessor request for comments.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I will be providing just an overview of the draft report that was prepared. So the committee was provided the drawings for the zoning amendment phase of the project on July 31st, 2019. Some of the comments that came from the committee included voicing concerns of compatibility with the new development and the historic buildings within the streetscape. Just to provide some additional staff comment on the drawing within the report. Staff are of the opinion that the applicant has made a significant effort to respond to the previous comments from HGAC. Staff do encourage, however, the use of modern design elements in an effort to ensure that falsification of heritage can be avoided. It is integral that design be equal parts compatible, distinguishable, and subordinate to adjacent heritage properties as per the Venice Charter and the standards and guideline for conservation of heritage historic places in Canada. And it is also recommended by staff that the applicant work directly with heritage staff as well as regional urban design staff to finalize a compatible design for the application that takes into account the committee's comments and the best practices within heritage planning. I can address any of the committee's questions.
Any questions to Bianca on that recommendation? Kate?
I don't have questions, but I do have a comment that I was very happy to see the drawings. I really feel that we were listened to by both planning staff and the developer, and it's a dramatic change that I'm very happy with.
Thanks, Kate. Anne, you're shaking your head. You feeling similar?
I agree 100%.
Great. Much appreciated the staff's efforts in that and continuing to work with the developer on that. And I'm hearing that that's you're going to continue to proceed with that. So much appreciated. The motion that we have in front of us is, whereas staff are of the opinion that the applicant has made a significant effort to respond to the previous comments of HGAC, Heritage Grimsby Advisory Committee, staff encouraged the use of modern design elements in an effort to ensure that falsification of heritage is avoided. It is integral that the design be equal parts compatible, distinguishable, and subordinate to adjacent heritage properties as per the Venice Charter and standards and guidelines for the conservation of historic places in Canada, and therefore be it resolved that the applicant work directly with heritage staff as well as regional urban design staff to finalize a compatible design for the application that takes into account the committee's previous comments and the best practices in heritage planning. Do I have a mover and a seconder? And Mayor, thank you. All in favor of that, or any further discussion? All in favor. Thank you. Carried. Great. Status sheet, Bianca.
Thank you. Through you, the chair. So the status sheet has been updated for the committee's review, and I'm happy to answer any of the any questions about that status sheet.
Committee members, have you had an opportunity to review the updates provided? Are there any comments or questions on it? I just have one for Andrew. With respect to the Heritage Trust and the website, our website, the properties that are listed, that are designated, and there were some discrepancies between the two reports. And I think you mentioned that the culp block was still one that had to be brought back forward for designation because it had never been finalized. Of those, when you did the reconciliation, it was outstanding. And I think I had found that it was, it had gone through the Heritage Committee and the designation report had been written and had gone to council, but it had never followed through with the bylaw. I don't see that on the status report. Can we maybe put that one in as an action item?
Through you, the chair, I'd be happy to put that through onto the report, just for the future. Bianca and I will need to go through the report, the designation report, to verify all the information and make sure that it is still relevant and that we agree with everything within the report. So we will need to do that, and then we will need to bring that through the regular designation process once again as soon as we verify all the historic and information within that document.
Great. If you can just maybe make some note, because I think right now it's just talking about the reconciliation, but it doesn't specifically say an action item that we need to do with that one. And I just don't want it to get dropped because it got dropped in 2015 and it's kind of been sitting there waiting, and it had got to the point of completion, and now we're back to square one again. So I just want to make sure we follow through on that. The downtown is really important, and protecting the heritage of the downtown with all the new development that's going on. And I just don't want to see it kind of fall through the cracks in case there's some pressures with ongoing development there. So the timing would be great if we can try to get that one finalized. That would be appreciated. That's my thoughts. Sorry, Antonetta?
That's okay. Thank you. Chair Bothwell, I was just going to suggest, if we want, let's just make it a recommendation and then we can go from there.
Sorry, make a recommendation for what?
Regarding staff to review the materials in the designation report and then proceed with the designation process for that property.
I'm just confused why we have to do that, considering it had been passed previously by both Heritage and Council, and the bylaw just wasn't enacted.
Through you, Madam Chair, I think if we get questioned on the actual report and we're called to defend what's in that report, we just would want to be comfortable with that, and we validate the sources and the historical information. But then the rest is just following through with publishing the notice of intention to designate, waiting for the appropriate timelines to pass, and then moving forward. And I think depending on the timing, it will be subject to the recent changes in Bill 108. So I think we just want to be comfortable that we do everything to position ourselves well, everything that it requires in it.
Okay, so from what I have, it went through the Planning and Development Committee on September 15th, 2015. The Heritage Report was done originally in July of 2015. And then in September 21st, 2015, I think the notice to designate went to council. So, yeah, and that's what the report says. The notice of intention to designate from council under section 29(3)A went to the Heritage Trust, September 21st, 2015. So can we have a motion that says something like I'd like to recognize that it had previously been considered and that we're now bringing it forward for further review. It's not like we're starting from square one, is what I'm saying. So something like further to the reconciliation of the Ontario Heritage Trust database to the town's database, that 5 Main Street West, the cult block designation report be, okay, you got to help me with this. It's 2 late nights, okay? I've worked all day yesterday, all late last night till 11:30. I've worked all day today, and I'm losing it right now. So I need some help with helping this motion. But I'd like to speak to the fact that the notice to designate was done September 21st, 2015, and that staff need to now move forward with reviewing the designation and bringing further information to committee or council.
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, we can happily work on that. I think that's not the problem. Now, because of the changes, these need to be absolutely solid. Because of the changes, we need 100% full owner compliance. Now, I know what happened in 2015. I'm just worried about taking that forward and us not knowing all of these full rules and potentially jeopardizing the designation here. So I think what staff is asking for is an opportunity to peer review the document, basically make sure we're comfortable with it, that it's solid in each of its evaluations of criteria 906. And then we need to make sure that when we take it forward, what rules are going to apply given the timing of when the 30 days of the notice will expire. If that will take us into July 1st, and we're dealing with all new rules under the Ontario Heritage Act. So we need to make sure that we fulfill those requirements. One of the new requirements is 100% full owner compliance. So we need to deal within those parameters. That's why in my opinion, it's not as easy. I wish it was, but it's not as easy as just taking it across the finish line because of the new rules. But I'm not sure if the old rules apply because of the timing. I think we just want a chance to look into that.
So just that staff move forward with the designation of 5 Main Street West Cult Block? Is that it? Is that good enough to say?
Yeah, Bianca, do you have any thoughts on that, or Andrew?
I just wanted to provide some clarification. So originally this site was pursuing a heritage grant. So they had moved forward with the grant process, which includes designation. So I don't know if there was a point when they had decided not to do the grant, and then that was one of the reasons why they didn't follow through with the designation. And I also further wanted to provide some clarification on the Bill 108 coming up. So it's not 100% owner concurrence that is required. It's highly, highly recommended, because now not only do we have to get through the notice of intention phase and get no objections, we also now, once we get past that phase, we have to pass the bylaw and then provide an opportunity for the homeowner to object to that bylaw. So now there's 2 periods of objection that we have to get through in order to get to the full protection under the Ontario Heritage Act. And then if it is appealed, it's no longer going to the Conservation Review Board, where it's a panel of heritage professionals who understand the significance of the buildings, but instead now it's being brought to the OLT, which isn't necessarily going to have heritage professionals on the panel. So that's why these need to be 100% before they go through that process. Otherwise, we're going to end up with a lot of appeals, and we haven't been to an LPAT with a designation. This is a whole new process. So I just really want to stress that we really need to make sure all the research is 100% within that report.
Right. So sorry. So what I think I meant to say was that staff be requested to move forward with preparing the designation report for 5 Cult Block, right? Not the designation, because researching and preparing the designation report. So like you said, you got to basically go back to square one and confirm all the material, right? Is that how we should word it so that we move forward with protecting this property at this point, Bianca?
Through you, the chair. Yes, I would recommend going through that process. I think we should start again. We will use the information, of course, within the report as a starting, but we'll need to 100% vet it all, as we'll be the ones that having to defend it. And I think we can probably bring that with us to the priorities list as well, to see where this falls. Because I know we have a few on the list that we are really looking into, and I know we do have 3 removal requests coming down the chain that kind of were put on hold from COVID. The homeowners have been updated on those, but I do see them not backing down on those removal requests. So we could potentially have 3 other reports we'll be preparing as well. And further to that, I just wanted to add that moving forward with some of the working groups, maybe this is some of these projects we can work together, and then we can move more mountains.
Thank you. Makes sense. Sorry, Bianca. Andrew?
Through you, the chair. I just wanted to make sure that I updated the committee on the toolkits as well, because not only is it Bill 108 and Regulation 906 that are having adjustments, it's the toolkit that's facing adjustments at the same time, and they're completely being redone. So Bianca and I are weighting everything against those new toolkits and against the new Regulation 906. So we're trying to plan for everything that we have coming down the road, and there's a multitude of changes and ones that we'll be bringing to the committee's attention as soon as they're finalized. But we have gotten there is a chance for us to see those, and they're completely brand new. And I just want to make sure the committee knew that the toolkits will be changing.
Thank you. So I understand that's going to impact everything that we're doing moving forward, and this particular one as well. Committee, do you have any comments on how we should handle this, Kate?
Just a question. I'm trying to remember if I read it or if I imagined it, but is there a timeline of this process, the process of going through designation of a year? Is there a timeline, like starting the process and ending for the process? There's no timeline.
Bianca?
Through the chair, I can answer. So there is statutory timelines. So once you do the notice of intention to designate, we have 30 days to have our notice of intention put in the newspaper, served to the trust, and then it's also served to the property owner. Once that 30 days comes to an end, we see if we have an appeal or not. If we don't receive an appeal, like for example, 130 Main Street, we didn't receive an appeal. So we now have, I believe it's 120 days to get that bylaw to council. And then they have to sign off on that before that time comes up, and then it's officially designated. So those are our statutory timelines in that regard. There's no limit. So once you move forward, we'd like to designate this building. It's not like you have a certain amount of time you have to have it done by.
Kate, you look confused still.
I'm fine. It was a lot to read, and I may have misunderstood what I was reading.
Thanks. And I think, Bianca, you'll go into that a bit more when you give us maybe a bit more on that Bill 108, so that we hear it a couple of times and you can be a little clearer on that, and we'll make some notes. That would be great, because I know there's a lot to absorb. Like you and Andrew are saying, it's a learning experience every step of the way, and there's a lot of new stuff coming down, and you're going to funnel it through us, but yeah, it's going to take time to absorb all the changes. So we appreciate that you're working through that and helping interpret it for us. As Antonetta mentioned, if we want to move forward with 5 Cult Block and this ensuring that we research it, I just wanted to know if committee members are supportive of that, considering it had been left as a notice of intention to designate with the trust. And if you would like that action to happen and the 5 Cult Block be put on the radar for staff to research and prepare an updated designation report, then I'll need a mover. Antonetta?
I can if I can recommend that we decide this at our priorities meeting, because our strategy is always designate what's at risk first, or things that might be more vulnerable than others. Now, if we determine that this one is, then it goes high on the priority list. If not, then it goes lower on the priority list. So perhaps it's best to leave it to the priority meeting, and we'll just make sure that it gets raised there so that we can talk about it. So Andrew, I think, can add it to the status and activity sheet so that we don't lose tracking of it. But I think we should make a decision in context of everything else we have to do and where our efforts are going to be most effective in preserving the town's heritage.
Thank you, Antonetta. Are staff comfortable with that decision? Sorry, are committee members comfortable? Anne, Kate, Mayor, you guys good with leaving that until we do the work plan and the terms of reference? Okay. So is there any other comments on the status update or anything that needs to be added or commented on further? Seeing no further comments on the status update, I've got a motion resolved that the status sheet be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Thanks, Mayor. Thanks, Anne. All in favor? It's carried. Thank you. Thank you for your input, staff, on that. Appreciate it. The next one, and the ministry update Bill 108. So let's get a little more meat on that one, Bianca.
Thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. So this is some correspondence that has come through from the ministry. So just to comment on your earlier statement about us easing into the new act. This is going to be a great opportunity to do that. So this session is going to be put on by the ministry. So the one that I sent you guys the invitation to, that's a Heritage 101. So they're going to start right at the beginning and go through the entire act and it will include all of the new updates. And then in the meantime, myself and Andrew and Antonetta and our team, we're going to be attending to other sessions that are really going to break down what this means for us and how do we mediate now all these statutory timelines and these new steps. There's quite a bit of change that's come through. Some are really great and they correct things and they'll make our job easier. And then some are going to be very onerous on us. So these training sessions are going to help both of us get on board, and the toolkits are going to be an excellent tool as well. And I think as we go through the process, it'll probably the first one we'll do together and learn how that's going to work moving forward. So I highly recommend attendance at that session. It's come really highly recommended through the ministry. And we have a great relationship with the ministry, and all additional information that we receive, we will share with you as well. I don't know if anyone has any particular questions on that, but that's all for now.
Can you just remind us when the date of that session is? And is it open to the public as well?
Sorry, I'm just going to grab the date for you. I think it's on the menu.
I kind of put you on the spot. Sorry about that. I probably could have gone to my own emails and looked it up, but I just wanted to know, just to confirm, and again, if it's open for the public or not, or just for members of heritage committees.
Sure. So it is open to anyone. Anyone can attend. It was recommended for members of the Heritage Committee and really anyone who's interested in heritage conservation.
Anne, you got your finger on it?
No, I was just going to say I attempted to sign up for it. It said it was full.
Oh, it has
Ready. Oh boy.
I actually
at 4 o'clock this afternoon, I attempted that. So it's been full for a little bit.
I actually received another one from Kate today from the ministry, and she said here are some additional ticket times. So I'm going to send that over to you now. And then we can have you guys set.
It's like the COVID lottery, right? I mean, we've got to get there and get on it right away and get our booking in there, right?
Absolutely.
But obviously it's in high demand if that one that Anne already tried to register for is filled. I guess it's Ontario or Ontario wide, right? So
Yeah, through you, Madam Chair, that original date was June 22nd, the Heritage 101 overview for any members who are interested. But we'll send you the new dates if Bianca hasn't already with respect to some additional openings that they've put out there.
perfect. Thank you for looking out for us for that. Appreciate it, both of you. Andrew?
Yeah, through the chair, I just wanted to comment. The times of the meetings seem to be early afternoon as well. So I just wanted to make sure to mention that, the times that we've been receiving. So I'm not sure in the future if they'll make some available later on, but that seems to be the time slot, just so everybody is aware.
Thank you. Any other questions on that Bill 108 and Bianca's presentation and the what's to come? Okay, we're all good. I have a motion then that resolve the correspondence from the ministry regarding the update on Bill 108 be received. Can I have a mover and a seconder? Got Kate and Ann. Thank you. All in favor? Carried. Announcements. Maybe I can put this in Antonetta's hands. I was remiss as chair. It was awful of me to notice that there is a new name on our screen here, and her name is Terry Donya Edwards, I believe. And can you help me out here, Antonetta, please?
Yes, through you, Madam Chair. Thank you. We didn't have an opportunity at the beginning, but that doesn't mean Terry's any less special to us. So everyone, we're pleased to introduce Terry Donya Edwards. She is our new senior planner. And, she proactively said to us, I want to learn more about heritage and I want to join tonight and tune in and find out what it's all about. So we're excited to add some much needed capacity to the planning team. And we're very excited for Terry to join our team and bring her wealth of knowledge and background to help the planning team.
Thank you very much. Terry, I know we can't see you, but we can send our welcome. I know you can hear us. Please feel free to say hi if you'd like. But the committee is expressing our best well wishes to you and looking forward to meeting you in the future in person. Real. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you. I look forward to working with you as well.
Great. Any other announcements from committee members? Okay. I don't see any other announcements. So our next meeting is scheduled for July 13th, 2021 at 6 p.m. and it'll be available again through electronic participation and live streamed. We have no closed session. So at this time, I'm going to adjourn the meeting. This meeting is now adjourned. So appreciate everybody's attendance. Thank you for making time tonight, and we'll see you at the next meeting. Thanks, staff.
Night.
Bye.
Good night, all.